Hey, today on the Cooligans, we are joined by Luke Moore of the Football Ramble Daily.
That's right. They do a bunch of episodes every week, and they're also going to be doing a live show all over this country, in some in Canada. I don't know how we even allowed any of this to happen. Plus, we talk a little bit more about MLS Cup, which is coming out very soon. That and more on this episode of the Cooligans! Yeah, baby!
Yes. Okay. All right. We got a Millie Rock once in a while.
Oh, yeah, you Millie Rock?
Yeah, we got a Millie Rock in front of our English guest once in a while.
Because we do it on any block, Luke.
Okay, even if there's cobblestone on that block.
Yo, son, it's a little slippery if it just rained, but we still gonna hit it with the
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. That's how we just kind of intimidate our guests before we start.
Should we take a pause for our guest and the listeners to Google what we just talked about?
No, we are excited to be here. My name is Christian Polanco.
That's right. I'm Alexis Guerrero.
All right, we are your favorite stand-up comedians that host the funniest soccer show you've ever seen on
in the
television.
world, you've ever heard, you've ever seen, all that. But we're not just that. We also happen to be the gulliest soccer show in the world.
That's right. And today, helping us get a little bit more gully.
Wild gully.
We have Luke Moore. Luke, welcome to the show, man.
That's right.
Thank you very much for having me. I've understood about 1 in 4 words so far, so I'm hoping that's going to get better as we go along.
Isn't it a shock that we all speak the same language?
Yeah. 2 people divided by a common language. You know. I've never felt more British either.
All right. Okay, we're gonna put a hat on you, put it backwards. Everything will be very different after the show's over.
We're going to dress you up like Cameron in that pink photo. You had the pink hat, the pink phone, the pink mink. Yeah. It's all going to come out.
Yeah, hosting those live shows coming out in that mink. That'll be great.
Luke's also going to do a grime breakdown segment for us.
Yeah. I'll do some road raps straight out of East London. Yeah, no problem.
Dude, we're going to do a little UK drill right now.
All right, Luke, so maybe we should give a quick little biography, a little synopsis of who you are, what the Football Ramble is, and what you're doing here in my country.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you very much for allowing me into your country.
That's
I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Yeah. We're customs now.
Yeah. The Christian states of America. I am one quarter of the Football Ramble, which is a show that goes out in the UK Monday and Friday. It's the largest independent football show or soccer show, as you guys would say, in the UK, but we do Football Ramble Daily now as well, so we have a daily podcast all about soccer every single day, Monday to Saturday, every week, with a variety of different styles. And like I say, it's the biggest independent show in the UK, and that means the world, because we're the centre of football, aren't we, in the UK?
Right, yeah.
Don't ever forget it.
And don't Google it either. I mean, you've come this far now where you're sitting in a television studio in America.
Yeah.
That's 2 comedians that do a soccer podcast. That didn't exist. Things like that didn't exist, especially in America when you guys picked up microphones in 2007. Exactly.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
How does it? Just looking at the way the landscape is, do you guys feel like you had an influence in that? Do you guys feel like you were just first to bat? Like are you able to look back at it and sort of look at it from a bird's eye view? What are your thoughts when you do?
Well, obviously we got it on the ground floor. I mean, we did it first, but because we're older. I mean, when people say, "Oh yeah, long time this, long time," it just basically means another way of saying I'm old, which is, I'm sort of used to now. But I don't know, I'll flip the question back at you. Did you guys know what the show was before you started doing your show? I mean, you better tell me.
I did.
Yeah,
you were not.
Yeah, he was very confident, but he had absolutely no foundation or idea of how it was going to happen.
No, but did you know about our show before?
Yeah,
then?
no. Did you
about their show?
Football Ramble?
Oh yeah, I had no. When we started this podcast, I wasn't like consuming soccer content that wasn't like already wildly popular, or meaning like or easily available. Like listening to a soccer podcast was crazy to me. You know, I wasn't that in the weeds. So it took a while before I heard you.
So there you go, Alexis. No, we're not influential at all.
But you were to me. I mean, I had heard it, and I was like, yo, I think I could do better. No, I was like, yo, this is garbage.
And now you proved it. You proved it now.
I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. No, I think the one thing that what I appreciated of the show is that I've always felt, as comedians, what you want to do on stage is have someone sort of get the understanding of this is what it would be like to have a conversation with me at a bar.
Yeah.
That's at least what I go for.
Right, okay.
And I feel like you guys did that with your podcast.
Yeah, we try to. Yeah,
like you guys do, like you're, taking the piss. I'm trying to think of other words you would use. Like you talking shit about each other. Like, but you guys make fun of each other, and also like when somebody makes a mistake or says something is slightly like off cue, you guys jump on that.
Yeah.
And what I love about that is that every other show, that especially in America, it would be former players talking, and it'd be like, soccer content can be a little stodgy, a little stiff. MLS has their own content, which has to be kind of a little bit safer because it's their own league. So when I heard you guys, I was like, oh.
Well, it's the same in the UK even now. I mean, it's better now, but back when we started, you had to be either a journalist or an ex-pro to even have a show. And the reason we started the podcast is because it was our way of having control over the type of show we wanted to make, rather than going to audition and make a show that someone else wanted to make. And we've always kind of resisted that outside influence. I think we've tried to maintain independence as much as we can, because ultimately I think that's what people like us for, the fact that we're quite honest and we're quite fun, and we do try and invite people into a bar conversation, really.
Right.
And as far as like, I know one issue, or at least goal, early on, we were like, we need to get a player on the show. That'll give us all the credibility in the world. But I imagine when it comes to me, and we sort of experienced this in Germany, where you can really tell in Europe they do not really care for the media. They do not want them around. They do not want, because they're just going to sort of ruin their day. As far as trying to immerse yourself in like the proper journalism world and actually like get players on the show, how did you sort of approach that? Was that even important to you guys?
Not at the start, but we do a show every Wednesday now called Ramble Meets, where we interview someone from the world of football, and it can be anyone from. We've had Jamie Carragher on. I've just done one with a current England international, but it can be anyone. I had Howard Webb, who was the World Cup final referee in 2010.
He manages the pro referee.
He's a pro referee.
Right, cool. Okay, so and the way I did that was I just calling in favours, finding out who's got a book out and they want to sell it, and having a bit of a trade-off. The problem is, if you do it through the clubs, a lot of the time they want to have sign-off on it. They want to know what you're going to say. They want to pre-approve all the questions, and that's not really the kind of content we want to make. So it's a bit of a balancing act, really.
No, you guys are very similar in us in that, or we're very similar to you in that sense, where the times we've tried to reach out through the clubs, it's been bureaucracy hell.
Yeah.
And then when they do have the player, they're like, could you send us the questions ahead of time? Dude, we're comedians. We don't prepare for anything.
Well, unless you're like an official partner or an official sponsor.
Exactly.
And if you're not that thing, then you're not going to... I mean, there's no benefit to them, is there? There's absolutely no net benefit to them letting you do it, so they're probably not going to let you.
Yeah, it's great, because I feel there's a sort of similarity in that, like, we like would sneak into parties where we know like other players are going to be, or like we really.
Oh yeah, we're breaking the law, dude.
We're trying every
Are you just
angle.
not getting invited to any parties?
All right, sore subject. You know what? We got more with Luke after this. Yeah, baby, we're back. We are with Luke. I got a question for you, Luke. You've switched from a show that's on a couple times a week to now 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Why are you giving yourself that much work? You guys are really popular. That's when you do that's when you call in to the new hosts and remind them who you are, and you're still counting money.
Just because I want more money. No amount of money is ever going to be enough. I'm insatiable for it.
Yeah, big taxes out there too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so they say.
Yeah.
So they say. I'm not going to discuss my tax arrangement.
Of course not. No, dude. Hide it from the government, baby. This is America. What did anything precede that? Is it really just because you guys wanted to make more money, or did you see that there was more of a need for more content?
So I also co-run a podcast network called Stakhanov, which does lots of different types of shows. And one of the trends we saw in the podcast world is the fact that lots of news shows, as in like news and entertainment kind of stuff, they go every day.
Yeah.
And it's quite a competitive marketplace in the UK for football podcasts. There's 2 or 3 quite big ones, ourselves included. And we wanted to innovate in that area, really. So we just thought we can make lots of different types of shows throughout the week. So if you're someone who needs something to listen to on your commute every day, there'll be something there for you. But if that 4-person show, which is a bit of a circus, isn't really your thing, well, how about an interview show? How about a kind of harder news show? How about a European football show? And giving people options, basically. Just always trying to not rest on our laurels and make sure we innovate. That's the idea.
Yeah, and that's great, because you're always pushing yourself, and it can be, obviously you want to keep standing out and keep innovating. And you guys are also touring, right?
Yes.
You you had just done a tour in the UK, and now you're here in the US doing a couple shows in the US and Canada. My main question, before we talk about the shows themselves, you're in America. I'm curious what your perception is, or how you're going to approach these particular fans and their appreciation for American soccer or Major League Soccer. Are we here to just talk about how amazing the Premier League is and just poo-poo what we have here, or are we going to show a little bit of sympathy and care and handle it a little nicely?
I'm getting a feeling this is a leading question.
Yeah, dude, it's heavily loaded in the bag.
You better answer this correctly.
When you say Major League Soccer, what do you mean? I'm just kidding.
Just the greatest league in the world.
We do a more comedy-focused show live, so it's not so much about tactics, not so much about analysis of games. It's more about the circus around the game, similar to what you guys do.
Right.
And we try and set it up with set pieces, with videos. We do little games, all that kind of stuff. But the important thing for us, to answer your question at least semi-seriously, is to not patronise American fans of football, because I know you have to really seek out football in this country because there's lots of other big sports around. And if you like it, you're really into it, and we respect that. So we won't be talking down to any fans or patronising them or anything like that.
Okay.
I know one of the things happened when I was in Europe. A lot of fans were like, "Oh, you're an Arsenal fan from America?
Yeah.
Oh, that's plastic." And I'm like,
No,
how am I supposed to get to every game, dude? You know how much I'm
bullshit.
flights?
My experience is most American fans know more about football than I do,
Really?
because they're really into it.
Yeah,
You guys
they have
are
to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I've chatted to American fans of the Premier League, and they've been talking in amazing detail, and then they'll go at the end, of course, but you know all about that, and I'm thinking, no, I don't.
No, dude, I speak into microphones.
I understand a word you just said.
Yeah. How do you? I mean, you followed football your whole life. How do you feel like looking at the way it's grown? Like, you know, Manchester City has a satellite club here. You know, all these clubs are having academies in America. Are you someone who prefers that sort of old school anti-modern football?
No. I'm not against modern football. That's the kind of movement that people use on Twitter. I think I spent a lot of my childhood going to watch pretty terrible standard football in my local team, and it wasn't that enjoyable. I mean, I enjoyed the process of it at the time, but looking back on it now, the standard of the football was terrible. And what we have to understand now is it's a global game. I mean, it's just as likely that a kid from, you know, like Pulisic coming and playing for Chelsea, it's just as likely as a kid from the south of England or the north of England playing for Chelsea, because that's how far the tentacles they reach now. I mean, they're looking for players all over the world. You know as well as I do, the reason that Man City are involved in New York is because they want to tap into an untapped market there and get players over. You can't fight against the tide.
Also,
I don't want to be
hide money for the financial fair play.
Again, that's your statement, not mine. But you know what? You can't be one of those old. You don't want to grow into one of those old men who just complains about everything new. You've got to try and embrace it. I'm all for it. I'm a fan of the game. Generally, I'm not someone who only likes the team I support and only likes the game on the pitch. I love all the pomp and circumstance around it. Yes, it's ridiculous sometimes, but entertainment is ridiculous sometimes, and it's just an extension of the entertainment industry for me, anyway.
Yeah, because we normally, like a couple years ago, we had we talked about a segment from a show called Soccer AM, where who was it on the
Bullard?
show? Jimmy Bullard.
Yeah.
And they were really knocking just the fact that there's
He
no
was doing like there's no relegation, you know, playoffs, as if they don't have that in the championship.
So it's like I feel like a lot of times we have to be with England, we have to be very defensive all the time, and at this point, and I think that's sort of the conceit of our show, where we're starting to be offensive, because it's like, how much are we going to deal with this? You know, we're
Gotta fight back.
Thank you.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, here's our
Look
thing.
what happened in 1776. You get pushed to the limit and you'll fight back. And we
at
should
some
learn our
point-
lesson.
At some point, your bullet would throw your tea in the water.
Exactly.
But like, that's, I think for us, I think a lot of the fans that came after that, or because of that, were like, we've never heard someone sort of defend American soccer, and it was like, because no one wanted to, you know.
No.
But we're happy to do it only because it's what we got. And you're a fan of Portsmouth, you get it, you know
of
what I
course.
mean, right?
I mean, first of all, you understand that Soccer AM is a bit of a basic show now. It used to be quite legendary back in the day, but it's kind of lost its way. And a serious guy in the UK or girl in the UK likes football wouldn't be worried too much about what Soccer AM say.
Yeah.
That's point number one. Point number two. we need to embrace the idea that other people like football as well. Well, the problem is, in England, we can be quite sort of possessive and quite sort of selfish about stuff, and we need to be more embracing of this kind of thing.
Well, you mean the country that's saying it's coming home? Yeah. The World Cup could be.
But you know, the Germans fans sing that to laugh at us. Yeah. So whenever Germany beats England in like a tournament, they'll start singing "It's Coming Home."
I would love to hear that in a German accent.
Yeah. It sounds quite weird.
Echt coming.
You know, at Bayern Munich they sing "FC Bayern Fußballmeisters" as well, which is amazing. That's an amazing chant.
Sounds like a children's song.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We were there, and the two fans were chanting at each other, and we were like, "What did they say?" Because it was feeling like a call and repeat. And there was one German guy with us, and he's like, "They're saying like F you," and they're saying, "No, F you."
Yeah, really? Okay,
that's the chant back and forth.
That's what it boils down to. Yeah.
I was like, all right, well, we got. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, that's the lowest common denominator.
Every single argument between men has ever been.
100%. Friends or enemies?
Yeah,
it's essentially that.
Yeah.
I did want to ask about, just because we've been seeing this, VAR is new, right, in the Premier League.
So I was going to get through an hour of my life not talking about VAR.
But I'm only curious about it because it feels like this is the one thing, as far as with American soccer and in MLS, it seems to be handled a little bit better than it is in
England. Because we have like NFL, we get it. You know what I mean?
How do you feel about it, and why don't the referees just look at the damn screen?
Go to the monitor.
Just go to their monitor.
That's a question I've been asking for a few weeks myself. How do I feel about it? I don't really like it. I don't think it's that necessary, to be honest. I think it's a little bit over the top. I mean, the stats in the Premier League, at least the stats going into the season when we introduced VAR, the referees were getting something like 93% of decisions right. The offsides were 98, 99%. It wasn't really something we're crying out for.
Yeah.
The problem is that it's so conceited now because people will talk about the amount of money involved and all the rest of it. But ultimately, even with VAR, it's still going to be a game refereed by human beings because the laws of the game are drawn up to involve a lot of refereeing interpretation. So Howard Webb said when I interviewed him for Football Ramble Daily, he said, you know, I'll referee a game differently on this day than I will on this day because it's a different type of game. You know, if I have to put...
I got an argument with my wife this morning. I feel a little different.
I don't like the cut of this dude's jib. So it's going to be a bit chippy out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're off. So it's kind of an interesting... I think it was all too quickly seen as some kind of panacea that was going to affect and stop all the problems of the game.
Yeah.
And it was never going to do that. And it hasn't done that. And I'd be very surprised if it carries on in the current form anywhere near the short-term future.
All right, well, we got more. We got more about this topic when we get back. Yeah, baby, we're back. Look, we were talking a little bit about VAR, or VAR, if you will. You know, everybody was talking about like, oh, those of us who have podcasts or comment on the game, oh, this is going to be something that's going to give us less to talk about. I feel like it's given us more to talk about.
Yeah.
But has it gotten to the point in England where it feels like it's annoying? Because England, for some reason, just watching from the outside in, it feels like you guys don't like any of those changes when it comes to the sport of soccer.
Well, it gets to the point where you talk about that more than you talk about the game itself, which is annoying. And now we get to a stage where we have to say, all right, we've had enough of VAR for the moment, so we're going to ignore it. But then sometimes when the issues are so big, you can't really ignore it, so it leaves you in a bit of a difficult place. But the very idea that, I mean, people were saying this before it started, the very idea that in England, that as soon as they brought in video assistant referees, people were just going to stop having opinions is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Especially in the sport of soccer in England. Could you imagine? Like, no, actually, I'm cool with it.
You won't be able to find a human being in England that hasn't got an opinion of some sort on football, so it's not going to happen.
What do you think is next for soccer? So we're seeing a lot of these clubs going out, buying clubs in other countries, developing players in other countries. I think the one thing that a lot of people are noticing is not that many English players are playing in the Premier League. What do you think is next? Do you think is that something that's going to be focused on, or do you think it's grown too big that it can't sort of handle that?
I think robot footballers.
No, let's do it.
Yeah, giant robot footballers.
Yeah, dude, drone wars.
Yeah, BattleBots.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah. Substitutions from drones would be hilarious.
That's it. All bets are off. Just do that. That's what I think. No, I'm only joking. I think, what do I think is going to be next? Well, I think the spectre at the feast is this kind of European Super League that everyone keeps talking about. Yeah. They keep making manoeuvres behind the scenes, trying to make that happen, trying to kind of formalise a league between the top European teams that kind of supersedes the domestic leagues in all the relevant countries. Whether that comes, I don't know. That's definitely what they're trying to do, though, the powers that be, I think.
Would you be against that? Like, all right, so the U.S. is about the size of Europe, let's just say, right?
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of travel involved here, and we have a league, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not the most successful league in the world, but it's getting there, right? England is a relatively small country. You can get to most places just by train if you want, by bus.
Yeah.
Very few flights have to happen. But we seem to be able to handle it here. Imagine the two best clubs of every domestic sort of top flight went into Champions League, which was a league in and of itself. So it had home and away dates and a full schedule. And there was, whoever was top of the table got sort of picked as the world champion. It wasn't sort of a bracket system as you use now. Do you think that's something that people would be for or against?
Against, because I think it misunderstands fundamentally the culture of what it means to be a football fan in England. I mean, we've got 92 teams in that small country you describe. It is a small country, but it's got 92 professional teams in it. And what football is in England is far more about the competition itself. It's far more than that, sorry. It's more about the travel, the camaraderie, the going to away games, the travelling to the games and back. It's football clubs at their best in England are focal points of communities. Definitely true for a team like Everton, who you support. And I think anything that undermines the fabric of that, is going to be very, very damaging, not just to the sport in the country, but to the country itself. And it's something we should be very wary of, I think.
But it's only two clubs, right?
You're not going to miss
it's
two clubs.
it's the two best clubs. Right?
So say City and any other team that's not United, right? So they go.
Well, you reckon just get rid of them? Forget about them.
But they go send United anyway, just so you don't have to deal with them. But you send them off to this European competition to some degree. Like soccer is like a war game, no? Like you strike, you don't attack. You attack, striking, defending, all those things. It's a point of forget the word now, but the line of confrontation, all these things. It's basically war games. War in Europe, that's normal, right? You guys love that stuff.
Yes, they love that stuff.
Right? Like it's kind of like imagine an English team wins that league.
I think, I mean, my politics isn't amazing, but the United States are quite fond of a war themselves.
Oh, buddy. We'll start it. We'll just never end it. Give us that oil.
But it does show that, especially in your point, like the connection to sport, to a club, can get people to be very passionate about it, which is why they will be so defensive about making changes and making changes to tradition.
There's still 90 other professional clubs in that country.
Yes, but look at how when an American says the word soccer on Twitter, what happens? It's like, it's called football, mate.
Yeah. You can't lose the two best teams of any sport in any territory and go, well, it's not going to make any difference. It makes a huge difference.
I mean, they'll still play the home game.
You've not thought this through. That's my problem.
I have.
I need to see you working out.
I'll show you the work, which is just me writing it 4 times. I think it's something that they're planning on doing, so we're about to find out how England feels about it.
We probably will. I hope it doesn't, but we probably will find out at some point.
Okay, so and we should talk about your live shows that are happening.
Please.
So
less war in Europe, more live shows.
Let's get you in less trouble.
So you, as of this taping, 2 shows have already happened in one in the Gramercy Theater in Gramercy in the neighborhood of Manhattan and in Brooklyn. But we have 2 shows remaining, one in Toronto and one in Chicago.
That's right.
So what are you excited about as far as doing these shows? Being in front, you've not been in front of American audience before.
That's right.
Okay, so how are you feeling about it?
That's not true. You married an American.
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
So you've been in front of that audience.
An audience of one.
She rarely gives me an audience.
Expect the same from us.
We're excited. I mean, I said earlier, we're not gonna try and treat it any differently. We hope that people come along because they love the show and love what we do. So we'll do a bit more of that. But to be honest, it's just exciting to be out here. I mean, we did 15 shows around England last month, all throughout October. It was great. People turned out, enjoyed it, and we're just going to go out there and hopefully make people laugh, entertain them, and it's kind of a bit like an entertainment show about football rather than a football show. It could really be any subject that we're all interested in.
Sure.
I think it would still work. It's kind of a universal thing. So hopefully people will enjoy it. I'm sure they will. And if they don't, they can't have their money back.
No refunds.
Yeah.
That's prominent, listed there right on the ticket. But it is pretty cool because in general, we don't see this very often, right? Especially
we're the first UK podcast, football podcast to come out here.
Yeah,
ever.
And that's
because Men in Blazers is American.
Yeah.
Even though there's 2 English guys.
They've started and formed in the US. Right?
Yeah. You're the first ones to come out here and do this. And you also provide something that I think when we started we didn't see, so we provided because it didn't happen here in America, which is just the sort of like the culture around the sport.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
it's
really
just
important
like-
to us. Yeah.
Just more banter than it is talking about formation.
A quick question: what was your take on the Colleen Rooney, story and that IG post?
Couldn't believe my luck.
Yeah, we talked about it for a whole show.
Yeah.
It was great.
I'm straight away. I'm going. That's a week's material. There.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's easy. I'm going to do any research now. No, it's amazing. That kind of stuff we live for. We don't. There's enough. You have to understand. And I'm sure you do understand. In England, you're saturated with content. You've got 4 big sports here. We've only really got 1. There are other sports that are popular in England, but they're nowhere near the size of football.
Yeah,
So
we still don't know what a test match or Lords is. We don't care.
I can do it, but that's going to be another hour. We can do that.
We heard that some, cricket matches go 5 days. We're like, yeah, we're done. We're not involved.
It goes 5 days. At the end, it can be a tie. It can be a draw.
What's the point? 90 minutes in and out. Let's go.
So we wanted to not really be too concerned. I do think we know about football and we can talk about it intelligently if we need to. But the pomp and circumstance and the circus around it is really what we're interested in. So that Colleen Rooney stuff, that's amazing. That's amazing.
That's like bullseye.
Couldn't be better. Could not be better.
Even the ... we talked about. I'm like, yo, she threw an ellipsis in there.
I'm interviewing her next week for Ramble Meets.
No, are
I'm
you?
not.
Oh, we're showing up.
Yeah.
Just gonna go fanboy.
Well, but if you are watching, you are welcome to come on.
Luke, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure people watching or listening go to ramblelive.com if you want tickets to those shows. There's a couple remaining in the U.S. and Canada. So best of luck, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Football Ramble Daily. Search that wherever you get your podcasts as well. We won't take any of your listeners away because you.
No, you can listen to both.
Yeah, exactly.
Give us your listeners.
Other way around. Tell them about Cooligans.
All your listeners now belong to us.
We got more Cooligans after this.
Okay, welcome back. How great was Luke Moore?
Dude, Luke was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, he talks into a mic for a living 6 days a week now.
Well, he's not on every single day. Him individually.
All right, but still, he talks into a mic for a living for what? 12 years.
Yeah,
He better be good on our show.
He's been doing it a while. Yeah.
Well, what I like is he didn't take it light, man. He came in, he was ready to go, had some good bits. He was a great conversationist.
Great dude.
What
So
more do you
yes,
want?
go see them live if you have an opportunity and they're in your city. So we want to take this time to talk about some American soccer. Okay.
The greatest game in the world of football is going to be played in the world of soccer. It's going to be played.
That's right. It's called Soccer, mate.
Yeah,
all right?
come on, mate.
No, MLS Cup Final happening this Sunday. We will be there.
That's right. The world tour continues.
That is correct.
How exhausted are you?
Racking up those frequent flyer miles, sitting in the middle seat everywhere we go.
Weird because they're only giving me freaky flyer miles. Hey.
All right. I'm glad that happened.
Did you hear the coming from this?
we could. It's just mostly. It's wildly unnecessary. We could get through the show and get to reach higher highs.
No.
But no,
I like lower levels.
He keeps us. He's keeping us down. No, we will be there. The game is happening on Sunday at I believe 3 p.m. Eastern time, noon Pacific, which is a little strange, a little early for. I feel bad for some of these players. They haven't even digested their brunch. You know,
A little early.
a little early. So MLS Cup Final will be Seattle Sounders hosting Toronto FC. This is the third time in 4 years that these two teams are playing each other. Nobody
And what's
really.
funny is no one would have listed them as powerhouses at the beginning of the season.
Nobody's listening to them as powerhouses now.
Yeah, good point. But this is the joy of the playoff system. You never know who's going to make it.
Yeah.
Complete opposite conversation being had in MLS headquarters.
So that from a point of selling the league, marketing the league, a lot of I think neutral fans feel like this is not the game they wanted to see. Look, last week we were on this show talking about how there was no way Toronto was going to beat Atlanta United. We were way too confident.
Pontificating, if you will.
Even if you saw the match stats of that game, it was like 19 shots for Atlanta United and like 4 for Toronto FC, and they made the most of those 4.
They made the most. I mean, I think I said like, oh, maybe there's a chance that LAFC looks past this match because they just had this big emotional match.
Oh, they did.
Well, it turns out maybe I'm right.
A bit of a shock. I'm not as shocked by Seattle beating LAFC Seattle were a good team this year. I understand that, but maybe a little shocked that they beat them at Bank of California Stadium.
Yes,
and very shocked Toronto.
Was that
FC.
only their third loss this year
At home?
Yeah.
I don't know the number, but it was very few. Yeah. I was way more shocked by Toronto FC defeating Atlanta at home, because Atlanta, and you saw again with those match stats, you saw that they were the dominant team, and they probably should have won that game.
Even watching it, you're like, tactically, the way the game is being played, it just shots weren't going in. That's all.
Yeah.
Everything else was right for Atlanta. I was planning on going to Atlanta in Atlanta MLS Cup, because remember, we're like, oh no, it's not going to be in LA, and our Atlanta fans were like, oh, you're coming to Atlanta this year.
Yeah, we were like, everybody was like making all the plans, we're booking the Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Nope, we gotta change that. No, but what I am excited about, because I don't want to diminish this MLS Cup Final, because I know, especially for Seattle Sounders fans, this is a huge deal. The two MLS Cup Finals that they played in, they were hosted at BMO Field, and so they didn't get to play their game at home.
And they each won one. And so this is like the rubber match of the rivalry.
The tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about going to Seattle for the first time. I've never been there, and seeing an MLS Cup Final sold out at CenturyLink Stadium. This is gonna be wild. We might bump into Ciara.
Yo.
Okay. So we
might bump into her and be like, oh, I'm sorry, did I spill any of yo goodies? Yo goodies? Yeah, yo goodies.
Yeah, that's what he's gonna say.
and then
Russell Wilson
is gonna punch me in the face.
Not because he's offended, because he's heard that joke too many times. Gonna smack him across the head. That's what I'm thrilled about. We're gonna get to see a lot of our Seattle supporters, see a lot of Seattle fans.
Yeah. Some Seattle friends.
Exactly.
That's right. Kale moved from Chicago to Seattle, so she's there. So we're gonna go hang out.
I think because she knew this was gonna happen.
She moved, and what she's done is she's gone around Seattle, and she's sort of done some of the recon.
The recon for us, exactly. Yes.
So that when we get there, this was all for this.
Yes,
she knew.
She's gonna be like, I'm reporting back. I know where all the good pork knuckle is.
I better find out what a good pork knuckle is.
And there's probably like very few people, maybe new listeners who do not know what we're talking about, who we're talking about. Kale Parker, friend of the show. She's the princess of the podcast. That's right. That's what we would always call her.
And she legitimately freaked out when she first met us, right? And it was cool. She helped us out in Chicago.
Yeah,
she was a huge friend.
The videographer, photographer. She's great. But
she's the hand you see shaking, high-fiving Stefan Fry.
Yes, that's right.
Who's German, and we were just in Germany. Look at that.
Is he German?
Yeah, Stefan Fry. What more do you need?
I don't think he's German. I could be wrong.
He's 100% German.
I'm gonna. Somebody can look this up. If Stefan
you
Fry,
don't need 23andMe. Trust me, my man's German.
I don't think he's German. Anyway, he's Swiss. Okay. And while we were in Germany, Alexis did have a problem understanding that those were two separate countries.
Yeah, dude. I was like, where are all them chocolates y'all know for?
So who wins this game, Alexis?
I gotta go Seattle.
Yeah,
they're home.
And as with the form they were in, especially against LAFC, you have to favor them.
The only reason is Jordan Moore is pulled up a little bit at the end of that match, at the last match. So if they don't have him, completely different team without him being able to sort of expose and stretch your defenders down that wing.
Yeah.
But they do have Nico Lodero, and dude, Rui Diaz is on one. The problem is also you never know which Rui Diaz is going to show up.
I mean,
which Rui Diaz is this?
I kind of like playoff Rui Diaz.
Playoff Rui Diaz is on. He's a beast.
But when Seattle Sounders won the MLS Cup at BMO Field, they won the game without having a shot on goal. Right, so they did have some problems with Toronto.
That's a different Toronto. There's no Giovinco.
It's no Giovinco, but it's still...
Defenders are a little iffy.
I don't know. I mean, look, we saw Toronto in the playoffs has not been an easy team to play against. I mean, it wasn't like DC United, they had a tough time. NYCFC had a very, very tough time. They kind of pressured them to make some errors. So I don't think Toronto's just going to get washed out.
No. It ain't going to happen. But this match is basically going to be who's more effective, Nico Lodero or Pozuelo.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, that's
Mate
fair.
Versus patatas bravas. That's the whole thing.
What's the second one?
Patatas bravas. You don't know what they are?
No, I don't know.
It's a dish. It's fried potatoes with a spicy sauce on top.
Ooh, all right. That sounds good.
Let's have both. We'll be right back with more after this.
All right, So we were talking about the MLS Cup Final, and my prediction, I favor.
I think Seattle is going to win.
I think Seattle is probably going to win this one. Toronto's definitely capable of an upset, having,
Neither one of us are going to be surprised if Toronto wins, but I will say we both believe Seattle's going to win.
But I mean, Seattle Sounders winning MLS Cup in their stadium. Oh my God! We expect, I think, about 60,000 people there.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be pretty crazy.
Remember when we saw the fans marching in Toronto?
Yeah.
It was like I forget. Started like whatever, birthed in 1974 or something like that. There's like a song they sing. It was wildly intimidating. Like they're all sort of in the same chant. They're all coming at you. One of them is like shoot him against the wall or something like that. Is like something they sing in it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's like I can't imagine a whole city doing that.
You know what? I can't trust that Alexis knows the lyrics of the song, so I'm not gonna support it. But whatever. So we're excited. We're gonna be at MLS Cup. If you see us in Seattle, please say hello. We might have some stickers. We'll give you a sticker or something like that. Yeah. So please, if you see us there, say what up. Don't be there. Occasionally we'll have people send us messages like
photos of us.
Yeah.
And they were like near us. They're like, I didn't want to say hello to the Cooligans. Why not?
Why not?
You think our breath stinks? Come say what's up.
Shake my hand.
If your breath stinks, I'll tell you. Okay? Get close enough for me to find out. Come say hello.
I'm gonna smell your mouth. All right.
Breathe heavy in my face. Please don't do that. Especially if y'all been drinking all that beer and whatever else y'all eat. Flying fish.
Throwing fish at each other. I don't know what you guys.
What happens out there?
So we're excited to go. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about that happened. Even though a lot of times people, when the MLS offseason happens, people are like, when are the Cooligans gonna talk about? There's nothing going.
The page 6 of MLS never stops.
No, it does not end because there's more news that is very personal to us, and
that's right.
Really affects us on a deeply personal level.
Because the last time this happened, our show took a turn.
Exactly. And we have to talk about Dax McCarty. Dax McCarty, formerly of the Chicago Fire. Now playing.
He's not going to get to play in Soldier Field.
Yeah, he got traded for $50,000 in TAM and $50,000 in GAM and some like useless draft picks to Nashville SC, which is the new team that will be leaving USL and joining Major League Soccer. And this is the reason this is a shock for some maybe new viewers or new listeners is because
we're trying to figure out, should we send him a new fruit bowl?
Because Dax McCarty is an important part of the Cooligans lore, right? Because
we would not be where we are if it wasn't for Dax McCarty existing and being traded on his wedding day.
We are not exaggerating at all. He was traded a day after getting newly married, and we were talking about this on the show. The Rebels traded him to the Chicago Fire. It was a bit.
He legit found out on his wedding day.
Yeah, it was a very much of a shock.
And he was like a sort of like the heart and soul of
New York Rebels,
the Rebels at the time. So to find out you're getting traded on your damn wedding day,
yes,
that's gotta hurt.
It's rough. So,
and then his wife had put out sort of like a message, kind of condemning what had happened and being a little disrespectful to New York.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it on the show, and I said, hey, let's Google it, right? And we did. And what came up first was their wedding registry.
That's right. And we sent them a gift.
So we said, let's buy them a gift.
We sent them a fruit bowl.
And yeah, well, we noticed them like some of the cheaper stuff was like a lamp for $600. We're like, everybody relax. Right?
Okay, we don't know them like that.
Yeah. Also, we ain't got that kind of money. So I said to Christian, what's the cheapest thing? And it was a fruit bowl, but it's not like a decorative fruit bowl. It's one you're supposed to like eat yogurt out of, and it was 1 out of 16. We only sent him one.
So it was a thing we did. We did a video on it. You can watch it on our YouTube channel. It was a very fun thing. But again,
we never got to thank you was the whole thing.
That was the whole thing. But watch it on our YouTube channel. It was very fun. Dax fruit bowl. Just look it up. So we talk about that, and that was like an incredible thing. But he very much adjusted to Chicago. I believe he bought a home. Just had a baby.
Yeah,
just had a baby a couple months ago.
Thank God they waited, and not while he's waiting at the doctor.
Just like his wife giving birth, and the baby comes out with like a pink slip.
Right. His first words are, "You fired."
No, and now he's traded to Nashville. I don't know. I'm not gonna claim that he's unhappy about this, but you could presume that this is probably not ideal. I know that he was probably very excited about playing at Soldier Field, and he was starting to become beloved by the Chicago Fire kind of support.
And he had, not him specifically, but the club had kind of a rough go of it during his stay. It started off real strong with the whole Schweinsteiger and all that, and then it's sort of coming down and problems with the fans, and now there's new owners and moving to a different stadium. So, probably didn't have the smoothest time in Chicago, but he was starting to become beloved and a real staple on the team.
I'm disappointed in this move from the Chicago Fire. I think Dax McCarty is a strong veteran that they could have used, especially. Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, now Nashville gets. They also did a trade with LA Galaxy, so they got Dave Romney, of the Romney family, which is very much true. Yeah. So Dave Romney and Dax are going to Nashville. I don't know what Nashville. We don't know what the full roster is going to be yet or whatever.
No, it's smart. You really get a really smart veteran.
Yeah, they're going to be very helpful for their initial MLS season for Nashville. But don't think it's. I honestly don't think it's a great move for Chicago because they don't have many of those guys that you can have a little bit of confidence in.
Yeah, but clearly Chicago's doing a whole rebuild. Clearly, they're getting rid of a lot of players. Schweinsteiger's not coming back. They're doing a whole cleaning house. They're going to start off all brand new. Clearly, either that or y'all being dumb.
So it's just one of those two.
Can't be anything else.
That's how we grading you. All right, we'll be back with more after this.
First of all, this is what you paid for, Fubo. Okay? Who took the dump in the bathroom? Me. Who stole all the toilet paper? Me. This is what you purchased. Even more Cooligans. We're amazing at this. We just keep talking. It's pretty great.
That's right. Yeah, we've actually just reviewed our own show while it's happening, and you know
6 stars, dude.
We are amazing. That's the conclusion we've come to. We want to talk about just to wrap up today. We want to talk about a story that was in
Forbes.
So it's legit.
Only talks about big money.
Big
wop.
Big wop.
Be in it,
that should be the new name for Forbes. Big wop.
Oh, have you read the new Racks on Racks on Racks?
Yes, and there was an article titled Major League Soccer's Most Valuable Teams in 2019. Atlanta stays on top as expansion fees and sale prices surge.
That's right.
So the reason we wanted to talk about this because at the end of every year we sort of wrap up where is MLS now, right? And we're gonna be in Seattle where Don Garber every year does the State of the League address.
And we're gonna ask some tough questions.
Exactly.
Look at.
Yes, the on-brand Cooligans. That's what we do at press conferences. But no, Don Garber is going to do that, and so this is kind of from the business perspective where MLS is. And the one thing that always stands out is how much money are these teams losing, because everybody generally feels with the MLS and American soccer that you're playing the long game. You're going to lose a lot of money up front, but one day when soccer is the only sport in this country,
it's gonna happen. When the concussion thing takes out the NFL,
hey,
here we go, baby. That's what everyone's hoping.
It's our chance to swoop in. Okay.
Well, they forget their names. Watch soccer.
That would be a cool slogan for Major League Soccer.
Major League Soccer. Our retirees know who their wives are. Come on, watch MLS.
Okay, let's get on their ad campaigns. That's what you need the Cooligans for. So there's a long list of a lot of the teams.
Here's why this is also important and why we're going to talk about why this is maybe not all the information.
Yeah.
It's because I was going to say CBD negotiations are coming up. That's not what's happening. The collective bargaining agreement, CBA negotiations are coming up. Yeah.
They might be on CBD it
would be a bit more chill if they were, But the CBA negotiations are coming up, and this is when all the articles that MLS is losing money start to come out.
Yeah. So it's it's definitely on purpose and it's very intentional.
Yeah.
Like the players, their articles are about Wayne Rooney saying the players are underpaid, and then Forbes is like, well, the owners make no money. They just go.
What are we supposed to do? It's a long con. I mean, investment. So this is when these things start to drop, right?
Yeah.
And this should be a sign to you as an MLS fan, like, oh, negotiations are gonna be tough, right? And there may be a strike, right? Which again would hurt the Cooligans, but also give us something to talk about. So whatever, do whatever you want. Go get your money, go get your guap. But so MLS is teams' evaluations. 2 teams are over 450 million in valuation or in value. Which, why is this a big deal? That's more than some NHL clubs. So like things are starting to shift. It's a slow gain, but it's a gain nonetheless.
So and this is even though teams might lose money, people people are not really exactly aware where soccer is in this country and how popular the sport is, or how much wealthy people they think they can make from owning a soccer team. So when you hear Atlanta United has a $500 million valuation,
$500 million.
So we're not in some place where soccer is just some irrelevant game or boring or whatever. People really feel they can truly make a lot of money investing in American soccer.
And here's the other thing. Yeah, everyone, like when Luke Moore was here, he was talking about like it's not the #1 sport in the country. It's like, we kind of almost don't even need it to be because we have that many people. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like our fandom already can rival, as far as ticket purchases and whatnot, the Premier League, a lot of their clubs. It can already rival the amount of people watching. It may not, the percentage of population, no. But the amount of people watching, we're already above that, for a lot of clubs. And this is what's happening. You're seeing the effect of, maybe you're not #1, but being the 3rd most popular sport in this country is still a lot of money.
Yeah, you're still doing pretty well.
Yeah. If you're the guy who's getting paid the 3rd most in a Scorsese movie, you're still a millionaire. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's worse things to be embarrassed about.
Yeah. No, I'm not De Niro. I'm definitely not Pacino. But hey,
I'm Leo DiCaprio.
That's not bad.
You have a very strange assumption of what these playboys' lives are like.
Dude, he's a part of a group called the P-Word Patrol. So, Tobey Maguire's in it too, which is the most confusing one of all.
There's nothing to corroborate. I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about.
They have a point system. This is all true. I only know this because Tobey Maguire's in it, and he's losing. He's losing. It could be Leo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, and that couch cushion, and Tobey Maguire would lose. I promise you that.
Well, when we're talking about operating income of MLS teams, which is what we were talking about, a lot of the teams are suggesting that they are some are making very little money or losing out. Like Toronto FC is basically saying they've lost $19 million. Even though this may suggest that, it doesn't reflect what money that the teams make from Soccer United marketing.
Being a member of MLS, because again, you're not really a team. You're a team owner, but you're really a portion. It's like a co-op. Like you own a portion of the league.
Yeah.
They also own some. They own a portion of some.
And they get a cut of that.
They get the some money. The Pablo Maurer did a great article on that, where he sort of explained exactly what that is, and he looked at the DC United books. So
they've made a fair amount of money from some. So it basically covers the losses to some degree. So it's interesting stuff, and it might just seem like just a bunch of dumb numbers, but there is a lot going on within American soccer, and hopefully this explains a little bit what the future will look like of the sport.
Hopefully.
All right. So, all right, we'll be back with more right after this. You did it. You endured another fun episode
That's
of
right.
the Cooligans.
And we have not gotten canceled yet.
Okay, but who knows what'll happen next week?
Well, you watched this episode, so it's a possibility.
No, thank you again to Luke Moore for joining us of the Football Ramble Daily. Make sure you check out his show, check out their podcast, and that they do daily. So
that's right.
A lot of opportunities
at this point.
to tune in. Yes, I have a blast. Thank you. We're going to be at MLS Cup.
Dude, we're going to Seattle. If you want to hang out with us in Seattle, please let us know. know. Any Gully Squad members out there, please let us know.
Yeah, hit us up.
We're showing up to your house.
Okay, that's
right?
it. It's
We know your address. You join Gully Squad.
Wow. Okay, well, it's private information. Probably shouldn't use it that way, I think, Alexis.
Whatever. Oh, now you tell me?
No, we're excited to be there. So we'll do next week. We'll be talking about our time at MLS
That's right.
Cup.
Tell us what pizza place to go to. Should we go to Supreme? Is that the one we should go to? That's the one I'm hearing is pretty good.
Okay, I thought they make clothes, but they do pizza too.
They do everything, bro.
Hype Beast Pizza.
It's like $17 a slice, but you could resell it for $150.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you follow us at Soccer Cooligans. Follow at Fubo Sports to tag along and stuff like that.
Baby,
so with that said, my name is Christian Polanco.
I'm Alexis Guerrero.
And together, what are we? The Cooligans!